All right, everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be trying out the A2A simulation Cessna 172 trainer, and we'll be doing a walkthrough. I'm going to break this video up into two parts, which is going to be the pre-flight checks, and then we're going to go ahead and do our quick flight. It's going to take us from right here at Defuniak Springs Airport. That's 54 Juliet if you're looking for the ICAO code. 54J, which is Defuniak Springs, we're going to fly over to KCEW, which is Crestview, Florida Airport, and then from there we're going to turn south and we're going to go down to Eglin Air Force Base. So to start us off today, I just wanted to give you guys a view here. This is the beautiful A2A Simulations Cessna 172 trainer. This is the Civil Air Patrol model that they have there. So, I mean, you can tell, just look at the outside of this thing, the way the lights reflect off of it and everything. It's just absolutely beautiful. A wonderfully detailed aircraft, beautifully modeled. And I'm going to show you guys some of the amazing, awesome features that A2A Simulations has put into this aircraft. It truly is fully customizable. So let's go ahead and start off here. To bring up some of these panels, you're going to press Shift 2, 3, 4, and 7. Shift 7 brings up this. This is your maintenance hangar. You can go through the aircraft. You can change anything that you need to. You can see right now my spark plugs are a little fouled. No big deal. We're going to replace those. All right, we're going to go inside, check the engine, run a compression test. Those of you that are familiar with the A2A simulations, you know exactly what I'm doing here. But for those of you that are not, A2A Sims actually goes through and it will simulate all the things that you'd have to deal with if you were owning an aircraft. So if you run the aircraft poorly, you're going to pay for it. There's going to be issues. I mean, not physically you're going to pay for it, as in you have to pay money to fix your aircraft, but the aircraft will be damaged in the way that it would if you were actually running it that way. So you have some other options here. Flap seals. You can take on and off the main fairings and the nose fairing. If you keep your eye down here, you'll see I put on the mains fairing. I like to keep those flap gap seals in there. Gives you an extra couple knots of cruising speed. I'm going to go ahead and transfer these controls over to my separate monitor that I have here. I'm going to actually go ahead and close that maintenance hangar there. I am going to replace my battery real quick. You can't see what I'm doing because I'm not recording that monitor, but let's go ahead and put the pilot in there. I weigh about 220 pounds actually now. Good for me. Actually less than that. I'm about 215. Dumped a couple pounds. Thanks Nutrisystem for that one. And we'll throw my wife over here in the passenger seat. So there she is. We'll throw some baggage there in the back. We're both pretty light packers. And we'll say 60 pounds. Oh, well, good night. We don't need 60 pounds of baggage, but we'll throw, we'll say we're taking the dogs down there with us for the weekend. So we'll throw 60 pounds back there in the baggage compartment because these two other passengers, you can only take them down to 100 pounds. So as you can see, we are well under our gross weight here. I believe gross weight for this aircraft is, let's see. I want to say it's about 2,400 pounds if memory serves properly. Which we can't even get this guy down that low. Let's see where the gross weight is there. It might be 2,450. Yeah, 2,450 is max gross for this aircraft. So just to give you an idea, that's the max gross takeoff for this aircraft. So 2,450 pounds. So you can see, I mean, a Cessna 172, yeah, it's got 4 seats, but it's really a 2, maybe a 3-seater aircraft. So if you're talking small people. So, all right, we've got our aircraft loaded up. We've done our fuel, topped off our oil there. We'll go ahead and close that out. Right now we've got our battery off, but we're going to go ahead and get on inside the cockpit here and start doing some of our pre-flight checks. So I'm going to bring those windows back up by pressing Shift 2 and Shift 3. I'm going to equip this aircraft with the Garmin GNS 400. You can also swap it out, do no GPS, and when you do that, it'll actually give you a DME down here. Or you can do the GPS map 295. Actually, this is my preferred setup, so we'll do the GPS map 295. We'll turn that off for now. So we've got our control locks, we've got our wheel chocks and tie downs. We went ahead and put those back on there. just so that you can see all the nice little animations that are given with the A2A Sims aircraft. And let's get, whoops, I don't know what I'm doing. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll start doing some of our basic stuff here. Upon entering the cabin, we just checked our weight and balance. Our parking brake is still set. We'll add those yokes there. For the moment, I'm actually going to take mine away. I like to keep the passenger one, or the co-pilot one on, but I like turning mine off so I have better visibility of all these gauges here. So control wheel lock, we'll go ahead and pull that off. Ignition and avionics are off. They're all in the off position. We'll go ahead and bring the master switch on. And we're going to check our fuel quantity, which actually I'm going to move this bad boy out of the way here so I can actually do that. There we go. Our fuel quantity is looking good. We'll click the pitot heat on here. Alternate static source is off. Annunciator panel test. Go up to test. Verify they all come on. They do. Fuel selector valve. We're going to go to both. Push that bad boy in. That's our fuel shutoff valve. Extend our flaps all the way to 30 there. You can just hear the amazing sounds that they put in these things too. I mean, all these sounds are recorded from an actual Cessna 172. No switch sounds the same as another one, and none of these, even the same switch sounds different. So the flaps sound different going from 30 to 20 and 20 to 10 and 10 to 0. So that's something that is really nice that A2A does. But anyway, before I run my battery out here, let's turn the master switch off. Elevator trim, we'll go ahead and set that for takeoff. Roll that bad boy down just a little bit right there. All right, looks good to me. We'll go ahead and, whoa, we are skipping some steps here. Oh, I know what I did. Press Shift 8, and that'll bring up your walk around. So that's what we're actually doing here. So we already did the majority of this stuff right here. We already checked our fuel quantity. Avionics switch came on and off. Fuel selector set to both. Flaps are extended. Pitot heat is off. Avionics master switch is off. Battery master switch off. Elevator trim is set for takeoff. That's where we left off there. That's inside the cabin. Left wing. So first thing we're going to do, remove the pitot cover, press and hold. If that turns red, means your pitot heat's good. Make sure you don't burn your fingers. Fuselage. Check this out. Keep your eyeball right here. Little key goes in. Boom. Checks your baggage door. It is checked, locked with a key. Tail. First thing we're going to do, remove that tail tie down right there. Disconnect. And we're going to check all of our nice little control surfaces here, our nice little levers. We'll rotate our elevators up and down there, check them out, make sure that all these good little connectors are in place. They are. Going on to the next set of connectors there. All right, all of our linkages and cotter pins look good. And the next thing we're going to do, we're going to check this trim tab right here, make sure it doesn't move too freely, and make sure all that our antennas are still in place. They are. And look at that. Wiggles nice a little bit right there for you, right? Pretty cool. Moving on to the right wing, we're going to press and hold, make sure that these flaps are not too terribly loose. It should have a little bit of wiggle. That looks like about the right amount. Also going to check the flap seals in here. This is about how fast I typically do an actual pre-flight. Those of you that saw my video on the review of the brand new Alabeo Corvallis, you guys know that I am an actual licensed private pilot. So this is about the speed that I normally go through doing my pre-flight, particularly on a 172. I've got several hours in it, and I'm confident that I can complete this checklist expeditiously. But anyway, so I'll just run through it here. All right, we checked the little wiggle there. We're checking for any gaps. All right, so you want to make sure that these rails are inside the track there. They are. You want to make sure that this linkage is good and it's not disconnected in any way. Continuing on, right wing, we're going to pull this open. We're going to check for 1, 2, 3, 4 of those nuts. And we're going to check our linkages and make sure that there is a pin going all the way through and cotter pins on the end, and everything looks good. Wingtip and lights, we'll check their condition. Just kind of give it a little visual look up there. Okay, looks good. No cracks or anything. Moving on to the right wing, disconnect the tie down, sorry. Leading edge, we're going to check for damage. Take a look all the way across this leading edge here. It looks beautiful to me. All right. Moving on, we're going to go to the front wheel, check for proper inflation. Looks good to me. And we'll remove those wheel chocks here and just, or I'm sorry, this is actually our right wheel. Checking the right wheel for inflation. Examine the tread depth and wear. That's one thing we can't actually do on here. Fuel tank sump, we're going to drain and inspect fuel. We're going to inspect for the proper color, which is that nice light clear blue there that indicates 100 low lead avgas. We're going to check and make sure that the clarity of it is good. It's not cloudy or anything. And we're also going to check and make sure that there's no sediments or anything like that, or water for that matter, that's in the bottom of there. If there were to be, we would drain more until we no longer get any water. We'd pour this out, drain some more. Any water shows up, then we know that that we've got contaminated fuel, and we need to keep pushing on that sump until we get rid of it all. Now we're going to visually inspect the desired level of fuel. Looks like we've got about 27 or so gallons there, 25, yeah, about 26, 27 gallons there, which is appropriate. Nose, we're going to check the oil level. Looks good. We're topped off 8 quarts. Check the oil every 25 hours or 4 months, and if you don't do that in this game, you will have issues. And also make sure that if you are going to let your aircraft sit, so say you don't fly this aircraft for a long time, even when your sim is off, if you don't put corrosion protection inside that oil, you will come back to a corroded engine, and then you'll have to do an overhaul on it, which is no big deal here. It's just a press of a button, but in real life that gets pretty doggone expensive, sometimes even as much as the airplane. Depending on, if you buy an older airplane, spend $30,000 on an old Cessna, well, your engine overhaul could very well be about $10,000 to $15,000. So that's something to keep in mind. So again, we're going to check the tires for proper inflation and condition. We're going to check the strut extension, which should be about 4 fingers. If you just kind of hold your hand out, should be about 4 fingers right here on the actual inspection. We'll drain the fuel, check our sump, looks good. All right, we're going to check the nose, check the spinner for the condition, prop, make sure there's no damage, and we're just going to kind of visually inspect these fields right here, make sure there's no damage to the nose of the aircraft. We're going to check that this cowling area is clear of obstructions, which it is, and if it were not, we'd press this little button right here and it would clear it right out for us. All right, so that's something to do. Moving on, we're going to check the static source for blockage. There is no blockage, but if there were, we'd tap that button right there, it would clear it right out. Fuel quantity check for desired level. I'm going to do that over here now on the left wing. Looks like our fuel is even on both sides. Fuel tank sump quick drain valves. We're going to inspect the pitot tube, make sure there's no obstructions. Drain and inspect fuel again from this side. Moving on, we're going to check the left tire there. Check the tire for proper inflation and condition. Looks good to me. Now we're going to undo this tie down. We're going to check for any obstructions in our stall horn right there, and also in our fuel vent tube. Make sure that there are none. Looks good to me. And we're going to, again, check the landing and taxi lights. I'm sorry, for the first time, check the landing and taxi lights. And then we're going to check the leading edge of the wing over here on the left-hand side. And once again, it looks to be in beautiful condition because I always maintain my aircraft to the highest of standards. Aileron. We're going to check the wingtip and lights. Looking good. Looking good. Okay, checking for proper movement and security. Looks good. And we're going to check again for those 1, 2, 3, 4 nuts and cotter pins on the end. And they all look good in those 3 separate positions there. For our last stop here, we're going to check the left flap. Make sure we just got that little bit of wiggle. We're going to check again, make sure the linkage is good. Cotter pin and nut are in place. And we have the tracks in the rail there. Once we're done with that, we're back inside the cabin, and it is time to start rocking and rolling. So I'm going to end this video right here. I'm going to start the next one with the actual startup procedures and carrying on with the aircraft there. So just remember, in case you forget, because it took me a long time to do or to figure this out, because I apparently am very slow, but to bring up this pre-flight menu and actually do that pre-flight inspection, just press Shift 8, and it will come right up for you. And you can proceed through that checklist. So hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this showed you a little bit about how to run the A2A simulations pre-flight checklist and how to do so appropriately as you would do in a regular aircraft. So now that we've done that, I'm going to conclude this video. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and also click on the next video. We're going to take a nice little about 18 to 20 minute flight from 54 Juliet to Funiac Springs over to Crestview and then down and landing at Eglin Air Force Base using all the proper procedures. So rate, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks.